Frank Sutton is best remembered as the loud, no-nonsense Sergeant Carter from the beloved sitcom Gomer Pyle, USMC. To fans, he was a comic genius, a larger-than-life personality who made audiences laugh week after week. But behind the scenes, Sutton was not always the easygoing professional fans assumed him to be. Like many actors who rose to fame in the golden age of television, Sutton's career was filled with both triumphs and tensions. Hollywood, after all, is not just about bright lights and applause. It's also about egos, clashing personalities and rivalries that sometimes grow into lifelong grudges. For Sutton, certain actors rubbed him the wrong way, whether because of creative differences, on-set behavior, or even competition for roles. Though he rarely aired his grievances in public, those close to him recalled moments when Sutton didn't hold back. He was sharp-tongued, brutally honest, and not afraid to call out those he didn't respect. In private conversations and industry gossip, a list of actors emerged. Men and women Sutton simply could not stand. Some were fellow TV stars whose styles clashed with his. Others were Hollywood figures he believed lacked discipline or professionalism. And while Sutton may not have officially published a list, the stories that surfaced over the years painted a fascinating picture of the actors he had no patience for. Today, we uncover that list. These are the 7 actors Frank Sutton truly hated the most, and the surprising reasons behind each bitter feud. Opening shot, grainy black and white clips of Frank Sutton barking orders as Sergeant Carter, his voice booming with authority. The screen then fades into slow pan shots of 1960s Hollywood sound stages, where tensions often brewed just beyond the camera's reach. Frank Sutton's career was defined by discipline. Having served in the U.S. Army during World War II, he brought a soldier's mentality into every aspect of his acting career. He valued punctuality, professionalism, and an unwavering commitment to the craft. But Hollywood, a town brimming with egos and vanity, often tested his patience. And it was in these moments that Sutton's dislike for certain actors began to surface. The first name on his list was an unlikely one, Jim Nabors, his own co-star on Gomer Pyle, USMC. To the outside world, Sutton and Nabors were a perfect comedic duo, Carter's explosive temper playing off Gomer's bumbling innocence. But behind the laughter, Sutton often felt overshadowed. Nabors, with his warm, affable charm, quickly became the breakout star of the show, leaving Sutton to wrestle with feelings of resentment. Colleagues recalled that Sutton occasionally muttered that the show was supposed to be about the Marines, not just Gomer. Though the 2 men remained professional on set, there was a quiet tension that simmered, one Sutton never quite let go of. The second actor who drew Sutton's ire was Don Rickles, the legendary insult comic. The clash here was about style more than substance. Rickles thrived on chaos, improvisation, and pushing boundaries, a stark contrast to Sutton's structured, military-minded approach to performance. Sutton reportedly despised Rickles' lack of discipline, calling him a clown who doesn't know when to stop. Their paths crossed on variety shows in the 1960s, and Sutton found Rickles' humor not only grating but also disrespectful to the craft of acting itself. Where audiences saw brilliance, Sutton saw recklessness. These early feuds revealed much about Sutton's personality. He wasn't the type to smile politely and move on. If he didn't respect you, you knew it. His grudge against Nabors was fueled by professional rivalry, while his disdain for Rickles came from a fundamental difference in how they viewed performance. Both instances reflected Sutton's high standards, and his low tolerance for those he felt undermined them. Cut to archival interviews of Sutton, his commanding presence clear even in casual conversation. Narrator's voice overlays. In Hollywood, Sutton's blunt honesty was both his strength and his weakness. It earned him respect among some and enemies among others. As we move deeper into Sutton's hidden list, more names emerge. Some were household legends, others were behind-the-scenes figures, but all left their mark on Sutton's career in a way he never forgot. Fade out with a shot of Sutton and Nabors on set, smiling for the cameras, a smile that may have hidden a deeper frustration. Opening shot, a bustling Hollywood backlot in the 1960s. Actors mill around in costume. Grips move equipment, and directors shout instructions. In this world of controlled chaos, personalities often collided with thunderous results. Frank Sutton was a man who thrived on order. He valued precision, timing, and respect for the craft, but not every actor he encountered shared his code of discipline. In fact, some operated on the very opposite philosophy, and those were the ones who drew his sharpest criticism. The third name on Sutton's list was Ernest Borgnine, the Oscar-winning actor known for his larger-than-life personality. Borgnine was beloved by audiences, but his free-spirited and often rowdy behavior on set rubbed Sutton the wrong way. Borgnine thrived on improvisation and camaraderie, sometimes derailing scenes with playful antics. Sutton, who approached acting like a soldier preparing for battle, saw this as unprofessional. According to crew members, Sutton once stormed off set after Borgnine cracked jokes during a serious rehearsal, muttering that some people forget this is a job, not a circus. Though Borgnine's career flourished, Sutton carried a quiet bitterness toward him, never forgiving what he perceived as carelessness in the craft. The fourth actor Sutton openly criticized was Carroll O'Connor, the iconic Archie Bunker from All in the Family. O'Connor, known for his sharp wit and iron will, often clashed with co-stars and producers. Sutton admired O'Connor's talent but detested his arrogance. To Sutton, O'Connor represented everything wrong with Hollywood power structures, an actor who thought his fame placed him above collaboration. Industry gossip suggests Sutton once remarked, "Talent means nothing if you don't respect the people around you." For Sutton, O'Connor's domineering presence overshadowed his brilliance, leaving a sour impression that never faded. Both Borgnine and O'Connor highlighted the core of Sutton's worldview, professionalism over personality. He had no patience for antics or ego, no tolerance for actors who placed themselves above the work. While Hollywood celebrated these men for their charisma, Sutton viewed them through a harsher lens, as distractions, even liabilities, in an industry already prone to chaos. Cut to archival clips of Borgnine laughing with fellow actors, then O'Connor delivering fiery monologues as Archie Bunker. Narrator's voice overlays, "To the world, they were legends." To Sutton, they were reminders that talent without discipline could be as destructive as incompetence. As Sutton's career moved forward, his list of grievances grew. Some were sparked by professional rivalries, others by clashing philosophies. But all reflected the same truth. Frank Sutton was uncompromising. He demanded respect, and when he didn't receive it, his disdain was clear and lasting. Closing shot. Sutton pacing backstage before a performance, script in hand, eyes sharp with focus. The screen fades to black as the narrator adds, "In Hollywood, where egos ruled, Sutton's unwavering standards set him apart and set him against some of the industry's biggest names." Opening shot, a montage of late-night talk shows from the 1960s and 70s, actors laughing on couches, cracking jokes with hosts. The narrator's voice cuts in. In a business where reputation could make or break you, Frank Sutton stood apart. He wasn't one for charm offensives or publicity stunts. He believed an actor's work should speak louder than their personality. But in Hollywood, not everyone shared that belief. And that's where Sutton's strongest rivalries took root. The fifth name on Sutton's list was Tony Curtis, the silver screen heartthrob whose charisma won him legions of fans. Curtis was a master of self-promotion, known for his glamorous lifestyle and headline-making romances. Sutton, however, had little patience for what he saw as vanity. In private, he once scoffed, "Curtis spends more time in the mirror than in rehearsal." To Sutton, Curtis symbolized the kind of Hollywood star who relied on looks and charm rather than hard work and discipline. The two crossed paths briefly at industry events, and Sutton reportedly walked away unimpressed, labeling Curtis all flash, no substance. Next was Mickey Rooney, a name that carried enormous weight in Hollywood history. Rooney had been a star since childhood, but by the time Sutton was active in television, Rooney's reputation was mixed. Known for his talent, but also for his volatile temper and erratic behavior, Rooney often left colleagues exhausted. Sutton, who prized steadiness and control, found Rooney intolerable. On one occasion, after watching Rooney disrupt a rehearsal with his mood swings, Sutton reportedly muttered, "Some people never grow up, no matter how old they get." To him, Rooney was a reminder of what happened when fame went unchecked. It bred instability, not professionalism. Both Curtis and Rooney revealed a theme in Sutton's grudges: his disdain for actors who let ego eclipse the work. Curtis represented style without substance. Rooney, a raw talent undisciplined by humility. To fans, these men were stars. To Sutton, they were cautionary tales, examples of how Hollywood's excesses could derail the dignity of the craft. Cut to archival footage of Curtis charming an interviewer, then Rooney energetically bounding across a stage. Narrator's voice overlays: where audiences saw charisma and brilliance, Sutton saw distractions. For him, acting wasn't about being adored, it was about being respected. As Sutton's circle in Hollywood grew smaller, so too did his tolerance for personalities that clashed with his strict values. He had built his career on precision and professionalism, and when he encountered those who didn't share that foundation, he kept them firmly on his mental blacklist. These feuds weren't loud, public battles. Sutton wasn't known for tabloid scandals or public tirades. Instead, they lived in his private remarks, his gritted teeth on set, and his refusal to mince words in conversations with colleagues. But those close to him knew, if Sutton didn't respect you, you'd never win him back. Closing shot: Sutton in his Marine uniform on Gomer Pyle, USMC, delivering a line with sharp comedic timing. The narrator adds softly, "For Sutton, respect was earned, not inherited. And for some of Hollywood's brightest stars, that respect was never given." Opening shot: the glow of a television set flickers in a dark living room. Clips of 1960s and 70s television stars appear in succession, reminding viewers of an era when network shows dominated American households. The narrator begins: for Frank Sutton, television was both a blessing and a battlefield. It gave him fame, but it also placed him shoulder to shoulder with personalities he couldn't stand. And on his private list of rivals, there was one final name: an actor who embodied everything Sutton despised about Hollywood. That name was Jerry Lewis, the legendary comedian, writer, and director. To millions, Lewis was a comic genius, a pioneer who brought slapstick humor into the modern age. But to Sutton, he was unbearable. Lewis's exaggerated antics, his larger-than-life ego, and his reputation for being difficult behind the scenes clashed completely with Sutton's no-nonsense personality. Reports from industry insiders suggest Sutton considered Lewis the epitome of chaos. He viewed Lewis's improvisational style as self-indulgent, more about spotlight stealing than collaboration. Where audiences saw brilliance in Lewis's unpredictability, Sutton saw disrespect for the craft. Their few interactions, often at variety shows and charity events, left Sutton shaking his head in frustration. "He's not acting," Sutton reportedly told a colleague. "He's just showing off." This final feud symbolized the divide between two very different schools of performance. Lewis represented comedy as spectacle, boundless energy with little restraint. Sutton stood for discipline, structure, and precision. Their philosophies were oil and water, destined to clash. And though Lewis's career soared into legend, Sutton never offered him admiration. To Sutton, Lewis was the embodiment of everything Hollywood rewarded that it shouldn't. Looking back, the 7 names on Sutton's list paint a vivid picture of the man himself. His dislikes weren't random. They reflected his values. He hated actors who let ego overshadow craft. He despised those who disrespected the work with chaos, arrogance, or vanity. And while Hollywood embraced many of these personalities, Sutton quietly rejected them, sticking to his uncompromising principles. But there was a cost. Sutton's blunt nature and unwillingness to play along with Hollywood politics meant he never fully ascended into the same stratosphere as the stars he despised. His fame was tied almost entirely to Gomer Pyle, USMC, and while fans loved him, the industry often viewed him as difficult, even rigid. Yet in many ways, this was Sutton's legacy. He refused to compromise. He lived his career by the same standards that guided his life as a soldier: respect, discipline, and honor. The actors he hated most were not just personal rivals, but symbols of an industry he often felt was losing its way. Closing montage, Sutton saluting in uniform, neighbors smiling beside him, and finally, a still portrait of Sutton, eyes steely and focused. The narrator's voice lowers to a final reflection. Frank Sutton may have carried grudges, but they reveal a truth about the man behind the uniform. He was an actor who demanded more, from himself, from his colleagues, and from Hollywood itself. And in that demand, he left behind a legacy of discipline, integrity, and uncompromising honesty.